Hey everybody, I'm Roy Cannaday, and today I'm going to be talking about the Scarlet Witch Hero Pack for Marvel Champions. Let's get to it. Alright, let's take a look at Scarlet Witch here. Of course, it starts as Wanda Maximoff. So, 10 hit points, hand size of 6, recovery of 3, and Wanda Maximoff is a mystic, which is important for other cards that have to trigger off of that. Superpowered siblings, action, discard 2 cards from your hand and then draw 2 cards. 3 cards instead if Pietro Maximoff is in play, limit once per round. So basically the same special ability as Quicksilver there with the superpowered siblings, but then on the other side here, Scarlet Witch has 2 thwart, 1 attack, 2 defense, Avenger and Mystic, and then Chaos Control. Interrupt. When the boost icons from an encounter card would be counted, discard the top card of the encounter deck and count the number of boost icons on that card instead, which seems really good for the villain phase, but we'll see as we go along that this is essential to so many of Scarlet Witch's cards because she's going to be doing a lot of things with boost icons in the encounter deck. All right, let's see here. So, Quicksilver. So we have Quicksilver, and basically he is a 4-cost ally, 2 thwart, 2 attack, action, ready Quicksilver, limit once per phase. Very similar to Quicksilver, the actual hero, 4 cost, so he's going to be able to, he's going to basically take the consequential damage and hurt himself really quick, but he'll be able to react and do a bunch of things for you quicker than most other allies. And then Agatha is a support persona here. It is an 1 cost, alter ego action, exhaust her, and then look at the top 3 cards of the deck. You may add one of those cards to your hand and place the rest on the bottom of the deck in any order. So this is really good card draw because not only are you getting to draw cards, but you're also getting to look at exactly what card that is from the top 3. This allows you to grab the cards out of your deck you need really fast. Then a 2-cost upgrade here, Scarlet Witch's Crest. When a boost icon on an encounter card is counted, exhaust Scarlet Witch's Crest. Increase or decrease the number of boost icons on that card by 1 for this count. And you might think, when you're doing boost icons, why would you ever want to increase it? Well, there's a lot of cards that Scarlet Witch wants even more boost icons on those encounter cards. And of course, if the villain is boosting against you, you might want to lower it. So, awesome card there that helps enable a bunch of Scarlet Witch's stuff. Then Magic Shield, a 1-cost upgrade. This is basically a defensive thing here. Hero Interrupt. When a friendly character would take any amount of damage, discard Magic Shield and prevent 3 of that damage. So an upgrade that allows you to stop 3 damage, and you get 3 of those in the deck. Then Molecular Decay. This is the big attack event here. Costs 3, an event. Hero action. Deal 5 damage to an enemy and discard the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. For each boost icon discarded that way, deal 1 additional damage to the enemy. So of course, if you have the Crest, you're going to be able to boost that up. Also, Scarlet Witch will be able to trigger her ability there, of course, once per phase to try to get lots more boost icons out to make Molecular Decay even better. And you get 3 of those. Then Hexbolt. It is a 2-cost event. Spell Superpower, Hero Action. Discard the top 3 cards of the encounter deck. For each card discarded this way that has boost icons equal to 0, or if it's 0, then it deals 2 damage to the enemy. If it's 1, remove 2 threat from the scheme. If it's 2, draw 1 card. If it's 3+, place a status on a character. So this allows you to stun or confuse an enemy, maybe give yourself some toughness, all sorts of different things you can do with Hexbolt. Definitely super cool card there. You actually get 4 of these in her deck. Warp Reality. Here is a interrupt here. 1-cost event, Hero Interrupt. When an encounter card is revealed from the encounter deck, cancel all of its effects and discard it. Discarded cards from the top of the encounter deck equal to the number of boost icons on that card. So you can see that if it's a really strong encounter card that you end up discarding, you're going to rip through that encounter deck even faster, which is going to happen a ton with Scarlet Witch. And then one of my favorite cards for Scarlet Witch is Chaos Magic. This is a 0-cost event. It says Hero Action, play a card from your hand, ignoring its resource cost. Amazing. Discard a card from the top of the encounter deck, or discard cards from the top of the encounter deck equal to that card's printed resource cost. So you get to play a card completely for free, but you're going to be discarding a whole bunch of cards from the encounter deck, which you can see a ton of her other cards do that as well. So you're going to make that encounter deck really thin, which could be pretty dangerous. Then we have another ally here, Speed. He is a 4-cost ally, 2 thwart, and of course, Scarlet Witch comes with Justice. So 2 thwart, 1 attack, response after Speed thwarts, ready him, limit once per round. So very much like Quicksilver, but only works for the thwarting. And of course, he can jump in there and do that. Then we have Wiccan. Wiccan's pretty awesome. 2-cost ally, 1 thwart, 1 attack. He only has 3 hit points, but after Wiccan thwarts, discard the top card of the encounter deck. For each boost icon discarded this way, deal 1 damage to an enemy, which of course with her crest is awesome, and of course with Scarlet Witch's ability is awesome because you can try to get a lot of boost icons to do that extra damage. Then Crisis Averted, it's a 3-cost event. Hero action removes 6 threat from a scheme. If you paid for this with a science resource, then thwart, ignore the crisis icon. So there can be things that have crisis icon that you have to deal with first. This can let you ignore that and take 6 threat from the main scheme. That can definitely take a lot of threat out there. Then 1-cost multitasking event. Hero action, remove 2 threat from the scheme. If you paid for this card using a science resource, remove 2 threat from a different scheme. Cool, so that allows you to be more versatile in getting rid of all of those schemes. Swift Retribution, 1-cost event, hero action, attack the villain schemes, which of course is a bad thing. So you play this card, the villain is going to scheme against you. Then deal 4 damage to the villain. So this is very interesting. So you're basically putting more threat on your main scheme, but you're also dealing 4 damage for 1 cost. So if you have the right cards and you know you're going to be getting rid of that, or if there's nothing on the main scheme, maybe you're like, hey, I'll go ahead and let him scheme, then I can deal 4 damage for really cheap, and then deal with all of that threat that comes out. So you get 3 of those. I think it's a pretty cool card. Then Turn the Tide is a 4-cost event. After your hero thwarts and removes all the threat from a scheme, deal 3 damage to that enemy. So this costs 0 and allows you to do 3 damage, but you have to be able to get all the threat off of a scheme. So another cool card that can deal some damage while scheming. That's really cool. And of course, we've seen Power of Justice. You get a couple of those. And then Heroic Intuition, of course, makes your thwart even better. And then Order of Chaos, this is the same as in Quicksilver's deck, of course, because they're superpowered siblings there. 1-cost event. Team up, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, max 1 per deck. When a treachery card is revealed from the encounter deck, cancel its when revealed effect. So another card that messes up those treachery cards. Then deal the villain 2 damage. Cool, cool. And then here is a card that can only be played by Mystics. It is Spiritual Meditation, 0-cost event. Only play if you have a Mystic. Action, draw 2 cards. Choose a card from your hand to discard. So this isn't really giving you a whole lot of card advantage, but it is allowing you to scry the deck and find exactly which cards you need. So maybe you have a hand that doesn't have a really good powerhouse card and you have a ton of resources in your hand. It's going to make your hand good for the turn. And you get 3 of those. And of course, these could also go in Doctor Strange, which would be pretty cool. And then you get the regular old Genius, Energy, and Strength. And then one of the interesting things about Scarlet Witch, which we haven't seen before on a hero, is there are 2 obligations. So Scarlet Witch has 2 obligations in the game, which you might think is a terrible thing, but because she wants there to be a lot of boost icons sometimes, these both have 3 icons on there, and of course these make her exhaust and things like that, and of course it can end up discarding cards from the encounter deck. But yeah, you can explore that more as you end up drawing that, and I don't like to talk too much about all of these stuff here, but you have the bad guys. I do want to mention that next evolution actually increases the boost icons on a card. So this card might not get discarded because you might want those boost icons to be higher. And then there's a bunch of cool stuff there for the Nemesis, which, you know, I always like to explore those when they actually pop out on me. And then we're going to look at the extra cards that came in here too. So Browbeat is the first one. Play only if your identity is Avenger. 2-cost event. Deal 2 damage to the villain. Deal X damage to the villain, where X is the amount of the villain's stage number. So this is a really good card if you're playing on expert mode where you know that the villain's going to get to stage 3, and then you can end up knocking them out. And you get 3 of those, of course. Then Last Stand. This is a 0-cost event. It says, Hero Interrupt. When an ally you control attacks, it gets +3 for the attack. And then after the attack resolves, you just straight up discard the ally. So this would be a great card if you have an ally that's on 1 hit point that you're maybe gonna attack with and lose anyway, you can do this last stand and be able to get that extra 3 attack. And then we have bait and switch, 1 cost event. The villain attacks, so this is very similar to the one that makes the villain scheme. This one says the villain attacks, remove 4 threat from the main scheme. So this one you can have it attack and then you remove threat. And of course it's in protection, so sometimes you want the villain to attack you so you can retaliate and things like that. So that's a pretty good card for protection. And then here, recuperation, it is a 2 cost event. And this is basically just when you play it, you heal damage from your alter ego equal to your recover. So a lot of times you might be exhausted by the time you go to alter ego. You could play this for 2, and you could heal your recover. I'm not sure I'm super sold on this card, but it could be interesting in the right build, especially if your character has a ton of recover and could make it really useful. So that's Scarlet Witch. Let's see what I think. Alright, so Scarlet Witch, what sets her apart from all the other heroes in Marvel Champions? So one of the interesting things that she does a ton of stuff with the boost icons on the cards in the encounter deck. And a ton of her cards just like mill through that encounter deck super quick. And one of the rules that you have to remember is once the encounter deck is completely empty, you're going to end up having to get one of those acceleration tokens, which are going to make the threat go up even higher as the game goes along. If you play solo like me, it's not going to be as big of a worry because the deck's going to be bigger and you're only going to be one person going through it. But I can see in multiplayer, Scarlet Witch really running that deck out. And people are going to be like, slow down, Scarlet Witch, you're going to make the it even harder with all the threat coming out. But she is Justice, and she has a lot of ways to deal with threat, so that's super cool as well. I love the uniqueness of the whole boost icons and the decay card pulling out things, and you as the hero are actually wanting to use these boost icons for stuff. It makes you feel almost like a villain, which makes a little bit of sense with Scarlet Witch as you're playing the game. But yeah, super interesting the way the deck works. This is not a deck where you have a whole like thing that you build up. There's not a whole lot of cards that stick on the table. You have a few allies. There's not a ton of upgrades. You have like her crest and things like that, and Agatha as a persona, but there's not a ton of things that are going to stick on the table. It's all about those like bombastic events, like you play the Hex Bolt and all these crazy things are happening, and then you're trying to use like her Scarlet Witch's ability to mitigate the boost icons that are coming out to make sure the right things trigger and make sure you get maximum things. It's also really cool because Scarlet Witch ability can be used in the villain phase to be able to make it so that the boost icons are lower for you, so you're not taking as much damage. But then when you're Scarlet Witch and you're attacking back, you want those boost icons to be higher so that way you can get the cool abilities or the extra damage on the decay there. But yeah, I really enjoyed playing Scarlet Witch. I think she's a lot of fun, and it's still crazy how unique they're making all these characters feel. Like, is Fantasy Flight going to be able to continue to keep this up, making each and every character have unique, interesting special abilities? I've really been enjoying it so far, and I think that Scarlet Witch's setup is really cool, especially if you enjoy like the whole like dealing with the encounter deck and min-maxing on getting those boost icons the way you want them and getting the timing just right. You might have multiple cards that are going to let you dig through the deck. What time do you want to use Scarlet Witch's special ability to actually boost it? It's like, okay, I drew a 2 for the boost icons. Do I want to get rid of that and hope for a 3, or maybe 2 is good enough? And it's like, oh, I drew a 0 boost icons this time. I'm definitely getting rid of that. I'm going to try to get a better card. It's very interesting seeing how all of that goes, but you are running through that deck so fast. Anyway, really enjoyed Scarlet Witch. Definitely super fun for me. If you enjoy the game, check it out. And thanks for joining me on this review. And hopefully you're enjoying Marvel Champions as much as I am. I'll see you on the next one.